Hey, what's up guys? John here. Warren Buffett has some advice for anyone that is investing. If you have $1 in the market or you have any cash at all, he has some very good advice and some advice that I question. So he believes that the worst investment that you can have right now is cash, Bitcoin, and precious metals, gold and silver, right? So he believes that those are the worst investments to have right now. Now, when we look at Warren Buffett's track record, it's really undisputable. He's 24, 28% returns year over year in compounding. What he's done through Berkshire and the war chest of cash, $149 billion in cash that he's sitting on. He's sitting on a mountaintop of cash. Now, when he's saying that cash is essentially going to get really crushed, what he's saying is that throughout the history of the world, during every war, whether it's the Cold War or this potential World War III, cash always gets crushed. And he doesn't want to sit on it. So the big question is, what is he going to do with $149 billion in cash? My opinion is he's probably going to run out there and start acquiring large blocks of stock in companies that he has controlling interest in, or he's going to go out there and purchase distressed opportunities when things hit the fan. That's what I believe he's going to do. Now, when he is saying for everyone else that cash is trash, and same thing that Ray Dalio said, cash is trash, and then he's saying precious metals are no good, and also that Bitcoin is no good. That's what his opinion is. I think that Warren Buffett is coming from a place that, may have been true 10, 20, 30 years ago, throughout his career. However, right now we are stepping into this digital revolution. And when he's saying that you should invest in these companies, he's not talking about over the next 6 months or a year. He believes over the next 50 years, the best investment is to invest in companies that are going to have a great windfall of opportunity in the future. That's what his belief is. But we have to look at some other brilliant minds like Stanley Druckenmiller, who broke the Bank of England with Soros. This guy believes that the dollar is going to lose the reserve currency status. That's what he believes is going to happen over the next decade, right? What would that do to the stock market? What would that do to the economy if we lose reserve currency status? We look at Putin and a lot of leaders all over the world. They're accumulating large blocks of gold, and I believe that America is losing its edge especially over the last decade, losing its edge, and we're losing our authority as the world leader, as China and India and a lot of other countries get stronger, bigger, they're growing. And meanwhile, America is contracting. I believe that Warren Buffett's advice may be questionable. And also the advice of saying that you don't want to have cash. When things hit the fan, you want to have cash. You want to be able to go out there and buy things. His advice might be good for someone that's worth $100 million. But for someone that's worth $5,000 or $2,000 or $10,000, when gasoline continues to skyrocket, what happens if someone has to go to the gas pump and they have a Honda Civic and it costs them $150 to fill up their tank? $150. That's realistic. If you have 17 gallons and gas is $8 a gallon or $9 a gallon, right now it's already six something, almost $7 a gallon. And what we're seeing right now with this situation with sanctions between Europe and America and Russia, we're seeing situations in which we could have shortages of fuel. When we couple this also with everything we're doing to the pipelines here in America. So I believe we could see rising costs, and if you don't have the money as a buffer to be able to get yourself through these costs, I think that could be a mistake, especially if markets pull back like they generally do in war times, especially in the beginning. So I believe that some of the best investments is going to be to have a large block of cash, because cash is going to give you opportunity, although you will, you'll pay a tax on that every month, known as inflation. So you're going to pay that tax every single month to hold that cash, but it's going to give you peace of mind. And then I also believe some other really great investments going to be real estate. Obviously owning land is going to be very important, and stocks in great companies you believe in over the long term. I believe gold and precious metals as well, great investment. Collectible watches. We look at the watch market. If you're a watch collector and you understand watches, you know what's happened to the watch market. There's been so many watches that have went from their current price to 3 to 4 to 5x over the last couple of years. So the watch market, I believe, is a great store of value. Plus, a couple things that I love about precious metals and watches is that you take custodial ownership. You own it. Whereas banks, for example, they essentially own your money and then they lend it out at 10 times. So if you have $1,000 in the bank, they're lending out 10,000. So having custodial ownership, having options, that is going to be what's most important, I believe, over at least the next couple years. And then at that point in time, you can make a great decision, an educated decision. But having options throughout this whole period, if opportunities really present themselves, you have the liquidity, you can go out there and buy it. That's what I think Warren Buffett's intending to do. Not just Buffett, but you look at Ray Dalio, you look at Bill Ackman, you look at Larry Fink and Steven Schwarzman. You look at all the people that are actually really controlling this economy. These people, and when I say this economy, they control the capital that controls this economy. They have so much insight and influence that these people, when things hit the fan, they're going to run out there and start acquiring assets, right? And that's what I think could potentially happen here, is I think that these companies are going to run out there and start acquiring assets. They're going to pay a tax on holding all this cash until things really hit the fan, and they're going to step in and do this. But when we look at, for example, what Biden said, he's saying that inflation is going to pick up from 35% from what it was last year to this upcoming year. We have rising gas prices and rising utility prices. I think that we're going to start to see sell-offs if this Russia-Ukraine situation continues, and I don't know if it will, continues to grow. And if this thing does grow, then we're going to start to see more fear in this economy, in this market. I think we're already kind of seeing it in the housing market. We're seeing less confidence in this housing market, and we have potentially 9 quarter point, 25% basis point increases. So 25 basis point increases over the next 12 months potentially. So we could be seeing a great buying opportunity coming very, very soon. So I do believe that Warren Buffett, obviously you can't dispute his track record. His advice was very great long term, over the last 50 years. I do believe we're going to see some very big challenges to the U.S. having reserve currency status over the next decade or more. I believe that we could even see us going to a complete digital banking system where, everything changes. Everything that we understand and we know in life could potentially change over the next 5 to 10 years. So if you have all your money in this current system and you have no other assets outside of that system, I think that could be a mistake. Speculative, but I think it could be a mistake. What do you think? What do you think about Warren Buffett's advice that cash is trash, gold is no good, and Bitcoin is something you should stay away from, and you should just put all your money into stocks that you believe in long term? Would you invest in this stock market? When I say invest, I mean all of your money going 100% all in at, almost all-time highs right now as we step into a heavy inflationary environment, and the middle class, which is now the majority of America, is now being hit with more and more and more expenses, month after month, due to inflation, due to rising costs, and due to supply chain issues? Or would you pull back and sit on a little bit of cash, give yourself some options, and invest both in the markets and outside of the markets, and take custodial ownership of a variety of different asset classes that you understand? Drop it below. Let's talk about it. Also, subscribe here. Consider subscribing on my second channel, and go to TikTok. Follow me at This Is John Williams. I post there 4 or 5 times a day, and I post a lot more stuff that I won't post here. All right, guys, catch you later.